Hello. Welcome to the 5:30 edition. Can everybody hear me? All three of you? I'm going to go to live chat. Party. Hello, everyone. Good to see you. We'll let everybody trickle in a little bit before we get started. I know it's been a minute. There's been lots of lively conversation in the Discord channel. I've aged a little bit. I've got a little bit more gray. So, obviously things are going well, right? That's a good indicator. Hello, hello. We got Sky, Eastopia. People are coming and going. We went up to 8 and we dropped down to 4. I imagine that people are still at work to a certain degree, and that's okay. I know it's a random time as well, what we were doing today. That's because my schedule is crazy and I'm trying to accommodate a lot of things, especially with even managing 4 young children. So thanks for jumping over into here. Oh, okay. Silver Lioness. I know that. I know that moniker. Welcome. Welcome. And Purple Dragon. I've seen that one before. I know it's interesting going from Discord to here to even other social profiles and just seeing their familiar names and recognizing them all. How's everyone doing? Good. Well, there's going to be a couple of things we'll cover in here. And I realized again, so like the last time we did this, there were a couple of things that came to light. I've got a lot of stuff in my brain that I think everybody's very familiar with, which is not true at all. So I'm going to do some more recapping of just kind of the overall arc of what Dragon Federation is, what we're doing, because as this gets shared out, I just want to be pretty concise about what we're doing as Dragon Federation, a company, where we're currently at right now, what does it mean for you guys, and then kind of what are some of our projected timelines. And I say projected because for those of you that know that have been with the project for a while, we have continually struggled with being able to hit certain deadlines. But I feel really good about where we are right now. And again, being optimistic doesn't mean that it's a for sure thing, but it is something that we'll share and we'll talk about, just so that people that are new to the project get familiar with, because as you may or may not be aware of, we have turned on the full campaign right now for the Kickstarter, and we will get into that. And what does that mean? Again, doing the Kickstarter again, a lot's going on there with that piece of it, which is fantastic. And then also on the development side. So we will cover the Kickstarter tonight. We will cover basically what's going on with the replacement eggs, because a lot of you don't know about that, as well as what's going on in the dragon world and some of the lore. But one of the things that I am going to be talking about here, and we'll just kind of dive into it because people can watch the recorded version later, is knowledge gathering. Actually, wait. Before I go into that, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna do a recap of Dragon Federation, okay? Because we discussed this in the Discord channel, but I think that you need to hear this from me again. So Dragon Federation, what is it? Who are we? What are we doing? Well, I am the expedition leader, as you may or may not have heard. And what does that mean? Well, we have discovered the Dragon Realm that exists. using technology. A long time ago, dragons and humans were separated. We found it using our technology. Today, we've been able to pierce the veil and reunite dragons with humans again. Why is that important? Well, there's a couple reasons. Because we do have the opportunity to go into the dragon realm, at least at this point, certain areas of it, because it's a dangerous place. The second piece of this is that we have to establish a good framework for humans and dragons working together. Again, so there has to be trust that's evaluated across there. And so we are in a proving state right now, a testing state with some of the eggs that have been entrusted to us. And these first users, I don't even want to say users, but the first dragon riders, dragon trainers, are going to be the group that kind of proves that worthiness and allows us to continue finding new breeds, expanding the reach, and being able to help what's going on in the dragon realm. And for those of you that don't know what's going on in the dragon realm, dragons have been unable to hatch their eggs for a couple centuries now. And so the reason why that humans and dragons are actually reuniting is because there has been the dragon, the mountain skull, that has reached out to the humans, and it was forbidden. And they're going against kind of their own kind to be able to continue the circle of life against the greater wishes of a lot of the dragons. What's interesting about the dragons that we've uncovered in everything that we know is that their knowledge base is passed through DNA. So it's not something that they have to relearn. Obviously, as growing dragons, they're highly predacious. So they have longer timelines to grow to maturity. But the biggest pieces of this is that dragons still get clumsy when they're trying to figure out how to walk and fly and do all the things that they do, but their knowledge base and their access to being able to access that is embedded in them. And so one of the things that you get to do as a trainer throughout this is to be able to uncover that knowledge base, access it through different means. And one of those things that we'll talk about here today a little bit is the sleeping part of the dragon, especially in the early stages of your dragon. Because if you're familiar with highly predacious animals, they have a slower growth timeline than most. And what does that mean? They sleep a lot. So if you look at a human fetus when they're growing, babies, those types of things, like 22 hours a day, and you're probably asking, what did I get an egg so that I could just watch my dragon sleep? Well, no, but your dragon does have to grow. Some of the interesting things that we're finding out right now is that because of that ingrained knowledge base in that DNA, dreaming is actually something that we're tapping into with part of your dragon. So as your dragon starts to develop that spinal neural network and have the access between the conscious and the subconscious, you will be able to start to see or access things through their dreams and the times that they're sleeping, which, from what we understand too, you may be able to influence kind of thought patterns as well as class availability, and even unlock some more communication with your dragon during those sequences. We are finding out, and we are building that sort of neural link into the application right now. So your dragon during dreaming sequences and at certain places, you should be able to access. And what's really interesting about that is also their connection with binding, which is the magic. It's the magic of the dragons, and being able to access different spells, understand different knowledge or classifications or directions, understanding of your dragon. There is a very a very parallel or synonymous link with what's happening in their subconscious or REM cycles in their sleep, as well as what's understood in the magic world. And those two things are linked. So when we start to look at what's in the application and the technology, you will have access to binding, which is the magic system, as well as that neural link through some of the sleep things, the sleep cycles. So really excited about that. Really excited to let you guys know that there's going to be a lot of information to pay attention to that will help you understand better how to bond with your dragon. And it may not be in obvious ways, right? Because we don't necessarily speak the same language, but nonverbal communication is universal. So I just want to share that with you guys to kind of establish the root of where we are in the dragon realm, what that means, what does that mean for you to raise your dragon, and even when you're thinking about what you're hoping to accomplish with your dragon, these are going to be really good places for you to start thinking about and looking into during the application side of things. And for those of you that are a part of the VIPs and Kickstarter and that have been with us prior, we're going to start rolling out some early access, if you will, through knowledge gathering, as well as some of the testing pieces. So we've currently had a little bit of a hiccup because of the way, I will just share this, some of the way that the versioning has been done and then listed for the apps, especially on the Android side, on the Google side. We are working through that, but there are a little bit of hiccups there just because, as you guys know, Dice, who is our tester moderator, she does have another job, so be very kind and patient with her. And so there's kind of a cadence that we're trying to get onto, so that if there is difficulty downloading it, getting that feedback, and then getting it to the devs so that they could update the builds and be able to access that. But I'm sharing that with you because as we start to move into this next phase, like I said, we've launched full bore. You're going to see a lot of stuff happening on social media again. We are marching toward our number to be able to launch the Kickstarter. What does all of that mean? Well, I'll seed a couple of things for you guys right now. Our goal is in the next month and a half to be able to get very close to the number that we need to launch our Kickstarter. The Kickstarter is going to be a 30-day campaign. So expect the Kickstarter to happen sometime in July. That's the goal, and it will run for 30 days. Within that 30 days, we are looking at about 2 months or so for all the eggs to be shipping out at that point. And that includes anybody that has had a damaged egg at this point will be replaced in that. So if you've had a cracked or damaged egg or something that has happened, that will be replaced. You don't have to worry about that. That will be replaced. And we are even looking into some of the colorization issues with especially the pure whites. But it's funny because the amount of protection that we applied to that particular one, it actually was a significant cost for us to protect that egg. And so it's funny that it still does that. But again, these things happen with products. They can't be perfect, right? And especially when they're organic and they have organic material inside of them, all sorts of magical things happen. But the recipe is going to be changing because of that. We're being careful with that. So just sharing that update. So if you've had any concerns or questions about a pre-hatched egg, then that will be replaced for you. We are currently migrating. I will share this. We are migrating the systems. Before we were on AWS, and we are migrating over to the Google Cloud. You don't need to know all that, but what is happening is you will be able to log in through your standard logins. So, like if you want to use your Google, your what is it, your iCloud, or your Apple login, the standard logins that you're very used to, those will be available. So you don't have to create your own account. I know that some of you have been like, oh, I lost my passwords, phones have changed, those types of things. But we're updating that entire system as we're getting ready to closer launch this product so that everything's a little more streamlined, a little easier, and keeps everything organized in a much better fashion, as well as encrypted and protected and all of that good stuff. So that's happening currently right now, and we're expanding that. We have expanded the team. We just sent out another contract this last week for another backend developer. They have joined the team this week. We have currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 full-time people with us, and I know that may not seem like a big team, but I do want to share something with you guys. You may not know my background and what I do. I am a non-technical founder, first and foremost. So when we talk about what we're doing here at Dragon Federation, but what is important is my background from storytelling and my background from the film and television industry. I have not only in writing screenplays and producing television and movies, but I dabbled way too much in post-production, visual effects, 3D modeling, and all of those types of things. So I have a pretty deep knowledge in a lot of those aspects. And what we're doing in that, I have kind of a unique, I guess, superpower. And I'm just sharing this with you because when you hear that we have a team of 8, that may not seem that impressive. But with the tools and the people that we have, we are able to accomplish what a much larger team would be taking a much longer time. This is also with the help of some of our friends that you might not like to say, but I won't say them right now. But there are some of these automated systems that are allowing us to be way more effective. And why is that important? So for those of you that have been with us, the number one Achilles heel for Dragon Federation in moving this project forward is, what do you think it is? Do you think it's money? And by the way, if you want to put an emoji on there that says, "Oh yeah, it was money," or it was knowledge, or it was people, or it was a new rule, like type it into the chat. I'd love to see what you guys think that it is. But the number one thing that's been the most difficult is actually breaking genre. And because when I asked this question on the Discord quite some time ago, and if you haven't been to the Discord for whatever reason, get to the Discord. There's a lot of good things that are happening on there. But the number one thing is when we break genre, okay, I will share this again. We are not a game. We consider ourselves an experience, and that experience extends across multiple platforms. When we first started this out, we were developing simultaneously on, like you heard, mobile, AR, VR, XR, all of these things. We switched originally from Unity development to Unreal when Unreal 5 was announced. We're actually now in Unreal 6, but we had to completely shift over from that system. Then when Oculus came out with the 3S, or not the 3S, but the 3, Oculus 3, we started to incorporate the XR because that wasn't incorporated in the earlier versions, and we were able to do that. Now, all of that stuff, technology is going to change extraordinarily fast. And the way that we are developing, whether it was in Unity or Unreal, didn't allow us to have a handle on the ever-changing technology. There's a reason why you're not hearing a whole lot what's going on in the VR space right now. And that's because if you look at the money that Meta is no longer putting into the VR space, it's like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, it was here, right? The metaverse, VR chat, all of those types of things. Now we're here. They've completely gutted that team over 10. I don't even want to say 10. I think it was like 30, $40 billion that they invested into this, and they abandoned it just this last year, in the last 6 months. You've probably seen a lot less titles going up on the store. They're not supporting it. They laid off a ton of their people. Why does this all matter? Well, it matters because supported hardware for development is also a key to our survival, because if they're not going to support their hardware anymore and develop new stuff, then all of a sudden 2-year-old technology becomes not an awesome experience, because as the Unreal gets better, as the software gets better, ultimately we'll be able to have higher resolution, better fidelity, all of these types of things. But if the hardware isn't actually where the customers are, then it's not going to be the same thing. And what we have done at Dragon Federation is make sure that whatever direction the technology goes, that your Dragon will be able to live and breathe on the things that you guys are using. That's the key takeaway to what Dragon Federation is. That is also the number one Achilles heel, because we couldn't use standard game development practices. We couldn't use just standard SaaS development practices. We couldn't use just straight AI development practices, because all of those are being done in a way with Dragon Federation that nobody's actually been doing before. It also makes us platform agnostic. And this is why you hear things coming from our mouths like the mobile app, VR, XR, theme parks, televisions, and some of the other things that you might be hearing all along the way. These aren't a distraction. These are not a change in direction from us. We don't talk about these things as much because the rise and fall of the popularity of these has nothing to do with what we're developing. The one thing that we are doing right now is making sure that what everybody has in their pocket, right? This guy, this thing that everybody has in their pocket, you will be able to end-to-end raise your Dragon. Within very shortly after this, you will have the opportunity, like we said, in all of those other platforms and mediums and hardwares, to be able to begin to upgrade your experience. You're not going to be required to do it. That's been the key part of our development. And every single time, you may be here for the VR, you may be here for the XR, but the key is that you're not going to walk around with your headset on all the time. Those are going to be key moments that you involve with, but the way that you will be able to communicate with your Dragon, I think that you'll be surprised at how much you might access that, especially with some of the new pieces that are coming out. We are going through that testing protocol to make sure that technology is running seamlessly. And now that we're in the full launch phase for the Kickstarter, that's what all of this is driving toward, because we feel we are in a very good place to deliver on all the promises, and especially the initial launch of this product very soon of the Kickstarter. With the launch of the Kickstarter, we will be publishing timelines. So I want to share that with you guys, because I know that a lot of you have been asking, what does that look like? But we are going to have that on the Kickstarter page. So that will be part of it. Even if you're not, because you already have an egg or you already have a Dragon, you'll want to tune into the Kickstarter, because there will be things going on there that you will also be able to get updates. And of course, we're going to share them with you through social media and through email and through other means necessary. But but yeah, it's going to be fun for those of you who've gone through the Kickstarters with us, or the Patreons, or some of the other egg drops and other types of things that we've done. It's a riot. It's a good time. We're not overextending ourselves with more breeds and more dragons and more things. I want to address that to you, because the things that we have been putting into the application on the back end allow us to scale. And it's been one of the reasons why we're slow with other breeds and other things when we showcase that in the app, because it doesn't matter if it's a quadruped or a biped, but the way that the dragon grows, the way that it's tapped into its overall epigenetic brain, and it's communicating with whatever system that we're developing or engine that we're developing on, those things are all done. And now it's just testing and hooking up what we're able to access through the Dragon Realm. And this is where it gets really, really fun. Because I don't want to say all the heavy lifting's been done, but the last 10 months, that is what we've been working on. We have been retooling this and upgrading everything for scale. So all of that being said, let's kind of dive into a little bit about what to expect with the Kickstarter. I will start sharing some copy with this, because there are those of you that have been around long enough that I'll probably just post it in the Kickstarter, or not into the Kickstarter, into the Discord, because I do want your feedback on some of this stuff. But we are looking at a couple of different tiers, some bundles that will be going into that. And again, I will remind you, if you have not signed up for the VIP, and not just put your email in there, there's a difference between the emails that you're going to see if you've put the $5 reservation. And let me remind you, because we have this problem with reading. The VIP $5 is a registration to be able to be invited into the pre-orders. It's not the cost of the egg. Most of our eggs have usually gone from about $150 to $250 to $300, depending on the rarity of the breed, with any of our drops. That's not going to change, right? So those are about the numbers. The pygmies are a little bit less, but we are going to be including the monthly membership in the price of the Kickstarter. So that will be part of the rewards package that's included in that. And then additionally, I'm just going to seed this, because the stretch goals that we're going on, this is where we need you guys to come out as a community and be loud and proud, right? Because for those of you that have been with us for a while, you've seen us put stuff into production. We invited, I'll rewind the clock here for a second. Very early on, like within the first 2 years, we hosted a server inside the Dragon Realm in VR. And it was a handful of people. We played a game, and we were walking around inside the Dragon HQ and talking with each other and having a great time. We started putting things into the application like that and testing it against other scenarios. And we found out that there were certain things that we were building without approaching you guys first. And then you would come back and you would say, yeah, that's really cool, but what about X, Y, and Z? Like let's just take the like you go on vacation and you want somebody to tend your dragon. The ability to allow another account into your dragon without actually taking away any learning that's going on between you and your dragon, or bonding that's going on with your dragon. So we called it like the babysitter account. And that was more important than a lot of the other things. And so we've started looking at that from even the stretch goals in the Kickstarter. And we're going to be laying those things out, including multiplayer, including some of the other VR stuff that we're talking about, and all of those things into the stretch goals for this Kickstarter. We have a very good runway for what we have planned for all of that. But the Kickstarter is going to be that regular update. So even if you're not subscribed, go subscribe, because those emails are going to be different than your normal emails, and those are going to be the priority moving forward until the Kickstarter's done. So if you've already got your egg and you don't really care, then that's fine. But if you do and you kind of want to understand and be a part of the whole mayhem, because if anybody, as you've been around through these drops, every single time we do this, it's mayhem and it's a lot of fun. So we are anticipating of selling out every single breed that we have available. Obviously not the pygmies, because the pygmies are there's an abundant supply of them. But like from the mountain skull, there's only, we've gone through about, I think, a fifth or a quarter of the total available on that, and and it's about the same on the elder as well. So with the way that we're bringing on the VIPs right now, we fully expect to sell out of those two. And so what's really cool about that is, again, I'll remind you, what does that mean? Well, until we find other clutches of them, they don't exist. But as far as clutch 1 or clutch 0 or whatever you want to call it, those will never be available again. And if somebody wants one of those, they're going to have to commission one of you guys, either for extra eggs that you have or for an offspring. And that's part of the stretch goals and other things that we're looking at putting in there. So again, like, the Kickstarter is going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be a lot of things that are happening in there, and we hope to see everybody take part in that. I'm going to read through a couple of questions just so I can see if I'm not missing anything. But we need the tech to get better. I'm not sure what that means. I thought you were waiting for the tech to get better. You might want to expand on that, and then I can answer that question. Sign up to VIP, but I can't remember what email I used. If you need to open up a ticket, we can look that up. If you have a couple of emails, then we can also get back to you on that. So with the Discord asking about eggs, are you able to tell us if normal eggs will be back up for sale on the Kickstarter, or is the Kickstarter going to focus on the new eggs breed? No. So like the mountain skull and the elder, that is our focus of the Kickstarter. And let me be really clear. I know that there was there's an announcement on the landing page when you go to the Kickstarter page of a new breed. We have to unlock that, and that is only going to be available after sellout and for the VIP people. So the people that are subscribed to the VIP, that's what that new breed is for, because we're marching toward our number. And I will tell you this right now, the VIPs that we have, we are already at 25% of that goal, which means that once we hit 100% of the goal of the VIP subscribers, we are launching the Kickstarter. And I got a little fly flying around here. And that also means that the available eggs at that point, like, the probability of it selling out is like 98%. So that's the reason why I'm telling you this, because you will be able to get the regular eggs through the Kickstarter. That is where we're going to do that. Once the Kickstarter is over, we plan on having the regular e-com start back up again, but it won't be at the Kickstarter prices. This will be the last time that we kind of float the deals that we've been doing to kind of maintain that momentum and maintain that interest as we go forward onto this. So let's see, Sarah, it's good to hear from you. Let's see, is that the new breed, one of the species that was announced in the past? Yeah, so the new breed has been hinted on in the past. I know what you're getting at, because it's still locked in there. And don't worry, that one's coming, but it's not that one. So don't go share that. But it is one of the announced breeds. It is one of the previous announced breeds. I will share that. but yeah, so get involved with the Kickstarter regardless. That's where a lot of the stuff is going to be happening, and like I said, there's going to be timelines. There's going to be a lot of the stuff that's going to be shared there. It is planned in conjunction with our alpha test. So even everything that's going on with the testers, that kink will get worked out because our CTO, like our technology expert on this, he's brilliant. He knows exactly what we're doing, and there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of Man, there were just a lot of things that we were missing out on previously. And I will share this with you because if you're familiar with the technology before, every time we released an update, something else broke. And half of the time with our development team, they didn't know what it was because they weren't properly setting up the unit testing and some of the other things. That is really boring speak, but what does it mean for you guys? It means that we can actually stage gate all of our products and features without affecting the app. And then only after they pass certain criteria does it get pushed to the app in the update. This was all planned so that these updates can start rolling out on a weekly basis. And that is our goal to achieve. With the launch of the Kickstarter and the beta test that's coming up within that full production growth timeline to be able to hatch your dragon, that's what we're targeting to be in parallel. And that's also something that we're hoping to unlock to allow all of you guys to start to share that experience. Because I know that before we've been pretty quiet about it, like don't share this, but we plan on having that all opened up so you can start to share that with the rest of the world. But yeah, that's kind of on the Kickstarter front. And so if you have any questions, type them into the chat and, I'll try and answer them even here. And if I don't get to them here, then, we'll be in the Discord, emails, other types of things that will be coming through on that. Let's see, what was the other thing that I wanted to talk about was knowledge gathering. We are putting together a pretty integrated system right now because there's going to be a couple of different ways that you can get information. Obviously, we've talked about blogs. For those that have seen it, we have that comic issue. At least it was the preview. We're planning on moving forward with those entire storylines, as well as what's on the website, also what's in the application, as well as other partners, places that are live, and even different websites, fan websites, and some other things that we're coordinating with right now to be able to read and gather content, especially while we're getting access to different areas of the Dragon Realm. So you will be able to find new spells, and it's going to be important that as you start to learn binding, just like how many of your fans are of Avatar? I think that I've talked about this before, but I'll bring it up again. Like, if you think about Katara, and yeah, you're already going to judge me because I'm a big giant nerd anyway. But like, if you think about Katara, how she goes on her mission to become a waterbender, and she finds scrolls and other tutors and other people that can, blood bending. Oh, sorry for spoiler alert. But any sort of thing that's related to the liquid side of things, she has to find different people, different mentors, different things. Same thing what happens with Toph. All of these types of discovery and knowledge gaining moments. Well, we're weaving that into kind of an omni-channel experience, an omni-media experience. And we know that Severus, I'm going to call you out here because I know that you're one of those people that have said, I don't want to know anything. I don't want this stuff to be secret, or I want to discover it. I don't want to know the path that I'm on and everything else. This is going to be up for you guys to discover. Now, obviously, there's going to be stuff that we have no control over, meaning like you guys are going to start sharing information about where to find certain things and how to do certain things. But the way that we're developing all the experiences, especially binding, that is going to be determined on your practice and your skill level to execute on it. And think about it from a martial arts standpoint. You're gated. right? You cannot perform a black belt kata if you're a white belt, because there are things that you have to put together and understand fundamentals before you can start to even gain the ability to break multiple boards, to use certain weapons, and think of binding in a very similar way. It starts off very easy, and you'll be able to execute things at a very novice level, or an introductory level. But in order to unlock things, find new spells, execute on those spells, there will have to be a level of mastery. And I'm just sharing that with you because this is going to be part of that knowledge and what's available and what's not available. So even if somebody spoils something for you online and they say, oh, this is how you do it, there will be levels, or depending on when you perform that mastery, depending on the age of your dragon, depending on how your dragon's been exposed to you and other types of things during your training sequences and your bonding sequences, all of the outcomes are going to be different. And so this is where the planning that we've been doing takes way longer than what you guys think that it may have been taking, because this is a well orchestrated opus, if you will. This isn't something that is linear in any way, shape, or form. This is going to be a very, very different experience for every single one of you. And what happens with you and your dragon is up to you. Now, again, discovering certain things, especially as we have, and we've talked about this before, like the geocaching elements or the Pokemon Go type elements, right? These are going to be populated in the real world, because for those of you that don't know, the Dragon Realm actually overlays our world. It's just on a different plane. And so it's not uncommon for us to be able to find different dragon breeds, locations of eggs and clutches, and even resources or other things that are useful and helpful in our world, because of the way that we've developed the technology to be able to reach through that veil and gain access for those times. We have to be very careful about how long that veil is open, because dragons on the other side are sentinels in the sense that they're protecting it. And for those of you that don't know, if a gate that's opened by us, if we have our dragon, or our spiritual death inside that realm, we can't access that point. So this is part of the things that we have to be very strategic as Dragon Federation, as well as what we're giving you guys access to. But again, these things are, this isn't like a respawn scenario where you pick up one resource and all of a sudden it respawns 3 days later. These are the types of things where there are finite capabilities. Resources that are organic have to regrow. So there's all of these parts of puzzles and pieces, and depending on how you communicate with your dragon. And this is why the dream sequencing and the visualizers and being attentive for these moments is going to be really important, because your dragon might be trying to tell you something, or it may be trying to hide something or disguise it. And that all depends on your bond. So this is where, I'm just sharing this with you guys because you've been asking for this stuff. You've been asking for us to share a little bit of this. I've been very tight-lipped about it because, again, sharing information isn't the same as me just opening up a screen share and being like, oh, look, and this is a spell, and this is a spell, and this is a spell. You can find a spell. You can find a move, right? But then you have to perform it. You have to have access to it. You have to have the right mastery to be able to achieve it. And similarly, you have to be able to understand what your dragon's telling you, interpret that, then also think about the places that you might be able to find that. So there you go. Let's see. I'm going to read through a couple of these real quick. That's right. Going on a quest. Got to get the badges, control higher level Pokemon. Wonderful. Let's see. Random question. Has the team thought about the possibility to reset dragon stats spells? Was curious due to balancing if we discover, say, fire is really strong, but then the team decides to nerf it. Would there be a way for those people to start over on spells since the balance of fire was too strong in this example? So we haven't actually thought about any sort of reset because at least when it comes to things on the magic side of things. But this is where your dragon is going to share knowledge with you in nonverbal cues. There will be colors. There will be shapes. There will be, for those of you that remember the brain visualizer, when I was talking with the dragon, it would show like saw waves and other types of things that were negative or red color that mean it was irritated. And these are going to be part of those signs that allow you to understand if you're in harmony with what your dragon is wanting versus what you want. And so it's going to be important to pay attention to those things. Your dragon, is going to be attuned to be able to help you discover those things along this journey. So even if you do want it to be, let's say, a fire breather, and it's maybe something else, it's maybe predestined to be like a high altitude flyer or a tank, but you're like, no, I really want this one to be a fire breather. You have that ability. You have that ability to persuade that dragon. At what cost? I don't know. Maybe it will be a lesser fire breather than you wanted it to be. It might not perform the way that you wanted it to perform in those scenarios. But the other thing that I will share with you on binding, think about it. And I have talked about this. There will be a whole blog post about this, by the way. This is coming up. But there is treat binding as like empty calories. That is something, or magic spells, right? Because that's something that you can cast and you can do. But the more you do it, it's like feeding your kids sugar nonstop without anything else. It's not a healthy balance, and it's not a good way to sustain a trajectory. And again, that's just the balance of the world, right? Like, there are things that we may want, but there's also things that we need to be in balance with. And so that's part of that. And I thought that I would just share that with you. So the reset's on there, but here's the great thing about nonlinear. Your dragon's dynamic, which means that if you're going this direction, say with fire, you can always bring it back. Now, there are going to be thresholds, right? That all of a sudden you cross, and that's going to make that sort of needle back to whatever you want to take it to a harder road or a longer road. Because just like if you raise your child or your dog to be, let's say your dog, right? If you trained your dog to be a bird dog, a bird hunting dog, but then all of a sudden you wanted it to be a protector against, let's say, intruders at your house. Once you've trained it to be a bird dog, but now you're not going hunting anymore and you're not doing that. And so now you're like, well, I want it to protect our house. That's a much harder thing. Most of the time in that scenario, people just go get another dog that's more preoccupied for that type of execution. But that's where, again, like these stages of this, be thinking about what you hope to accomplish. And I know that we've had this conversation before, but I am bringing it up again for all the new people that are coming in so they can see this, they can share this. Tell them to come to this video and look at wherever we are, like 40 minutes in, 50 minutes in, and say, this is listen to this, right? We'll have the transcripts and some other things that put into those scenarios, but shared with you guys so that you can revisit this. But yeah, I wanted to share that with you because those are all the things that we're working on this. And this is all going to be revealed within the Kickstarter sequencing so that you can start to learn how and when to gather, because again, we will be having that beta test that's happening with there, and we're so very close. We're so very close to all of that. So I am very, very, very excited about it, especially as soon as we work out these kinks with what's happening on the tester side of stuff. But I have no doubt that we're going to get exactly where we need to get on that. One other thing, so we only got 10 minutes left. If you have any questions, put it in there, put it in the chat. I am actually going to show something for you guys right now, because this is something that you may have heard us talking about. Oh, by the way, I'm going to bring this up one more time. For those of you that got upset that we said something about theme parks, you're not going to hear me talk about it a lot on this call. And there's a reason for that, because it caused such a stir with people that you thought that we were distracted, that we were unfocused and everything else. There were some people that were in there that were kind of understanding the concept correctly. And that is, we are not pursuing anything that is not being paid for by a client that is outside what we've already promised to you. So when I talk about theme parks, the reason why I'm talking about theme parks is because we are this close to getting the full green lights on that. What does that mean? That means we're going to hire additional teams to run alongside of our current teams, to build out much more of the experience in parallel. It doesn't mean that we're stopping one thing and moving to another. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means that your dragon will be more accessible in multiple different areas and platforms sooner. That's all. So if those things are exciting for you, then go ahead and heart, thumbs up, celebrate, because I cannot wait. To share with some of the stuff that we are doing in the live space. And you guys have seen it before, for those of you that have been able to be at FanX, but that is what we did at FanX, what we've done at FanX. It's so tip of the iceberg. But what I'm going to share with you, thanks to all for being here. There's, hopefully I like to have a little bit of rewards into this for listening to me ramble. But this is, you've heard me talk about this before. I will share with you some FanX plans. We haven't quite got there just yet because there's a lot going on. But we'll talk about that, Severus. So what's really important about what you're about to see is, again, when we talk about nonlinear, okay, I know that some of you guys talked about Dragon Wing, and some of you talk about some of these other animations or things. But again, that's you controlling the dragon, not the dragon thinking for itself and you engaging with it. These are two very, very different paths. And what we have here that I'm going to demonstrate for you is the dragon actually having a couple of different, I'm going to show you this, because we have a valence and we have an arousal. Now, get your heads out of the gutters for a second right here. But what this really means is there's a couple of things. We've got an energy meter of how much energy it has versus kind of its mood, whether it's excited or whether it's sad or depressed. And so the idea here is that you have this sort of dynamic timeline of your dragon being able to experience multiple different emotions, as well as different energy levels. And how does that change the way your dragon will emote, will articulate itself through actions and other things like this? And so this was an early POC. And for those who don't know what a POC is, it's a proof of concept for one of the plugins that we're developing. And the reason why this is important is because it allows us to publish to Unity, and it also allows us to publish to Unreal or any other engine without rebuilding the entire system. And this is directly tapped into the dragon's brain, to the epigenetic system. And again, as your dragon evolves, gets more complex in emotion. I'll just kind of talk through this while I just let it play. But you can see also the way that the hands are placing, the hands and the feet are connected a lot more with the terrain. You probably saw in the VR experience that the dragon would slide. It would do these types of things. But I want you to notice, like, even the pattern of the dragon, right? With the head up. And this is still the same walk cycle, but it's using a couple of different things that are changing the way it's emoting. And this is just by position. You can see that its face, it's still not doing any micro expressions. It's not really changing that. But you're seeing it's got multiple different ways to showcase and tell you whether it's got low energy. And this is kind of the same thing when you first, like, if you've ever had a newborn or a new puppy, sometimes the cries and the whimpers sound the same. But after you start to be with it for a while, you'll start to recognize the small difference in sounds, the difference in movements, the differences in all of these things. And even with its head down like that, now we're into a place where the dragon's full of energy, full of life, and it's just happy to be in this world and experiencing this with everybody, right? And so this is one of the things that I'm really excited to show you guys, because what we've been able to accomplish with this is 2 animations. So all of what you're being able to see here is based off of 2 animations with that full range of emotion. And this was one of the critical things that we were creating so that it could be engine, like, not tied to any engine, and also allowed us to be widely emotive with the dragon and personable based on the way that you're raising your dragon. And to be able to have that type of feedback, that now you can get a very close bond and assimilation with understanding your dragon better than you ever could before. And so I just wanted to share that with you. This is one of the little pieces that we've been working on, and we're kind of at time right now. So I think that that's a really good place for us to be at this moment. I will leave the chat open if you have any other questions and you want to write something in there right now that we can either answer later on Discord. I will share with you on FanX that we are hoping to be there. We are looking at that. But with some of the timing with the theme parks and some of the other things, it may spread us out really thin. But even if we're not at FanX proper with the same type of booth, we do plan on having a presence that, it's like a tick, but it's not. We are hoping to have a presence in a way that if you are here in Salt Lake area, that we will have some experiences that with some of the partners that we've been talking about, where you'll be able to come and engage with your dragon, see what we're doing with Dragon Federation. But yeah, that's our lore and story. So I thought I'd just get on here, share some stuff with you guys, catch you up to date. Please share this with anybody in the channel, with other people that you're talking to, so that we can kind of reinvigorate. And again, I apologize for some of the quiet stuff. We've got some stuff that we're working on with the moderators that will also help answer a lot of these questions that you guys have, especially as we start to unveil more and more and more. So we're going to open up that curtain again and hopefully get this rolling in the right space. So thank you all for being here, and I hope you have a good night, and we'll see you in the clouds. All right. Bye-bye.